Hey, Rising Church. Hope you guys are all doing well this week. Hopefully, you are off to a great start in your discussion. I really hope that as each week continues, that you really get to know each other in your group. Start off with something simple just by getting to know each other's names. I know we keep asking you to share each other's names, but we really want you to be able to recognize each other. And when you show up at Rising on Sunday morning, or if you see each other in the community, you don't just say, hey, and then kind of look down at their name tag and then say their name. Hopefully, you start to know each other's names, and that's a good start. So hopefully you're doing a good job with that. And if not, then work on it. Make that a goal, that you would get to know each other's names. This week, as we move into part 3 of our talk and our series and discussion in the book of Luke, I want to highlight something that I think is really interesting, and maybe you just it's easy to miss if you don't really notice. But again, like we've been saying week after week after week, Luke is the Gentile writer. He's the only one of the 4 gospel writers who's writing from that unique perspective, and I think he shows it this week. And right out of the gates in chapter 7, I don't know if you notice this or not, but it talks about the faith of the centurion, and it doesn't say the Roman centurion, but that's who it is. So this guy is a Roman. This guy is part of the occupying force in Israel. He's the enemy. He's the enemy of the Israelites, of the Jews, and somebody that they probably weren't too happy that he was around. Apparently, this guy has pretty good character because he's been helping out the local synagogue and helped build it. But even then, he's still part of the occupying force. And so I think it's just profound that Luke mentions this, and that he says, hey, Jesus said, I tell you, I have not found such great faith even in Israel. It's almost as if Jesus is saying, hey, of all the people I've encountered in my entire 30 plus years, this person has more faith than any of the Jews. And he's a Roman, a foreigner, a Gentile. And that's a very big deal. But I think it shows that Luke is trying to cross that barrier, saying, hey, Jesus isn't just the Messiah for the Jews. He's the Messiah for all people, which is why the crowd got so upset with him in Nazareth, if you remember that from last week, our discussion. But I do want to focus in on probably one of my favorite stories, and I won't take too long because the kids are about to get off the bus, and it's going to get real loud real quick here. So I got like 3 minutes to do this. But in chapter 8, it's easy to miss this, but when Jesus crosses over to the other side of the lake and he meets Legion, this demon-possessed character, it's very easy just to be kind of confused on what's going on and not understand the geography. But when it says he crossed the other side of the lake, it's significant because Jesus most of his ministry was in Galilee, which was Jewish, but did have a lot of Gentile influence. But on the other side of the lake of the Sea of Galilee, it was pretty much predominantly Gentile. And you can see that pretty quickly. Again, you might not notice it, but very quickly off the bat, when you start talking about all these pigs, and you go, well, wait, why, if these are Jews, why would there be pigs? The Jews and pigs did not get along. It wasn't kosher. It wasn't a kosher animal, so they didn't herd pigs like they did sheep or anything like that. They just avoided the animal. And so that's your indication that when Jesus crosses the other side of the lake, he's going into Gentile territory. This is not a predominantly Jewish area or neighborhood. In fact, the region was called the Decapolis because it was this conglomerate of 10 cities. And this is where when the Gentile, when the Greek, when the Roman influence came through, it wasn't well received in Galilee and Judea because there was such strong Judaism there. And so they kind of had to go around it. And surrounding Galilee and Judea, there was the Decapolis, and this was completely Roman. The cities were very Roman. If you go there today, you can see the ruins of one of those cities, Bethshean, and you just see how this was completely Roman territory. Again, that's why you notice that there's pigs there. And it's very curious that when Jesus goes to the other side of the lake, he's literally going across borders. And he's going into Gentile territory, and that's where he encounters Legion. And you're probably familiar with the story. We won't go into the details of that, but I just want you to think about the idea that Jesus crosses over, and he goes to the side where he's not supposed to go, and where people say you shouldn't be there. This is not the Jewish people. There's a few of them there, but not predominantly Jewish. And Jesus is going there. He's going to the Gentiles. He already said, hey, I haven't found such great faith in all of Israel, and now he's crossing over to the other side, and he's seeking them out. And when they kind of see what Jesus does, it kind of freaks them out. Did you notice that? They actually send Jesus away. They say, hey, please depart from us. Please leave us, because they're afraid. They're like, who is this guy? What's going on? We haven't seen somebody with this kind of power before. And Jesus actually tells the guy, Legion, he says, hey, I don't want you to come with me. I want you to go and be a minister to the people here. Go to your hometown. That's what it says in Luke's gospel. If you read Matthew's gospel, it actually says go to this region, and he goes to the whole region of Decapolis telling about Jesus. He's really the first Gentile missionary in that sense, where he goes out and he starts telling people about Jesus. And I just love the idea again that Luke notices that, and he picks that out, and he says, hey, this is important. This is massively important that Jesus doesn't just stay on his side. He goes to the other side. He goes to the Gentiles. He's the deliverer. He's the savior. He's the Messiah, but not just for the Jewish people, for all people. And if you want to tie this back into what we've been talking about in Abraham, this is the blessing that's going to be for all people that God promised and made this covenant with Abraham. Hey, this is going to happen. And this is where we see Jesus starting to show the signs of that throughout Luke's gospel, that, hey, he's not just here for the insiders. He's not just here for the Jews. He's here for all people. So hopefully that's something that will help you guys as you start your discussion, just realizing again that Luke is really trying to emphasize how Jesus is here, and he's here for all, and he's going to cross over any barriers in order to reach people. So hope you have a great discussion. Hope you're off to a great start again. We'll see you again next week. See you.